everyone and welcome to my channel again. My name is Catalina and I'm the person behind by Katarina Designs, and in this video we have a tutorial, a crochet tutorial for the Good Vibes blouse. I decided on the name because I was using the same stitch pattern as the Good Vibes cardigan, and because it gives me the same feeling, good mood, nice mood. I feel good wearing these blouses, so Good Vibes blouse it is. And in this tutorial we will have a step-by-step tutorial. I try to include all the details from the yoke, splitting the yoke into sleeves and body, then working the sleeves, and of course some nice finishing touches that I added at the sleeves and at the end at the bottom of the blouse. This version has the flare sleeve version, but you can also do it with short sleeves, with longer sleeve, with straight sleeve, as you wish, because this blouse is wear top down and you can adjust the length of everything, of the sleeves, of the body, everything. And I said blouses because I made not only one, not only two, but three Good Vibes blouses. So for this blouse you'll use some fingering or sport wave yarn and a 4.5mm crochet hook, or any yarn and hook that with which you'll manage to reach the gauge swatch. Yeah, besides that you'll only need, and you will repeat a few stitches. This stitch that I used is a variation of a V-stitch, is worked with half double crochet and the 3 chains in between. So if you're ready, I think we can just get started. Okay, so I will work size extra small, and I'm using this peacock feather color by Arcane Fiber Works. It's a fingering weight yarn with 80% merino and 20% nylon, and I will use a 4.5mm crochet hook. We will start with the foundation chain, and because I want to make the neckline a bit smaller, because my stitch pattern requires a number of 120 stitches to start with, but because I want to make it smaller, I will start with 110 stitches, and I will work a foundation round in single crochet to make those increases that I need to get to 120 stitches. So I need to add 10 stitches. This means that every 11th stitch will be an increase, and I will work 2 single crochet in that stitch. Okay, so here it is, the 11th stitch, and I will work 2 single crochet in that stitch, and I will repeat the section of 10 single crochet and 1 increase to the end of the row. Okay, we will finish the row with one increase because we started with the 10 single crochet, and then making sure that your first row, this row in single crochet, is not twisted. Join into the first single crochet stitch. So we are making a slip stitch into the first stitch, and now we can start with our pattern with the V stitches. So I will chain 5. The first 2 chain stitches will count as a first half double crochet, and then into the same stitch, so into the same first stitch, so 1, this is how you can do. So either you can start with 5 chain stitches, and the first 2 counting as first half double crochet, or you can start with this single crochet on top of the other, or single crochet and 1 chain to just substitute that first 2 chain stitches. It's just an alternative, you don't need to do it. By the end of this tutorial I just used the chain 5 because it was easier. Then you skip 2 stitches, and into the third we will work half double crochet, chain 3, half double crochet into the same stitch, and we will keep repeating. Skip 2 stitches, 1 half double crochet, chain 3, and another half double crochet into the same stitch. So the V stitch will be this half double crochet variation. At the end of the row we should have 40 V stitches, and we need to join into the second chain or into that chain that is on top of the single crochet. Every round will start into the first 3 chain space, so we need to move there with a slip stitch so we can start the row from over there. Again, I started with a single crochet and 1 chain on top, and then I will chain 3 and work half double crochet into the same 3 chain space, and we will continue to work 1 V stitch into each 3 chain space. I tried to write at the beginning of the yoke section how the increase pattern is divided per sizes, because except size extra small, all the other sizes are starting with an increase round as a first row. So if you want to make it easier to know how to start your round, you can start with the 4th round that I will show in this pattern, in this tutorial. So if you're making bigger sizes, then you can watch the increase round that we will be doing right away. So now I'm going to do 3 rounds without increasing, and now we will work the increase pattern, and this will be your first V-stitch row if you are working another pattern that another size than extra small. So we will start the row as usual with chain 5 and 1 half double crochet into the same space. Or if you want to substitute the first half double crochet differently, then you can do it. And then to make the increase, we will chain 3 and work 1 more half double crochet into the same space. Then we will continue with 3 V stitches. And then into the next stitch we will work another increase. So half double crochet, chain 3, half double crochet, again chain 3, and one more half double crochet into the same 3 chain space. And this was the increase into the middle of the round, not at the beginning. And now we will repeat with 1 increase, 3 V-stitches to the end of the round. And again, if you're working size small to 5 extra large, this will be your first round, because we switch the order of the increase pattern to start with an increase round, just because we need at the end of the yoke rounds without increasing, so we can add the last round that might be with an increase if we need. So now after this increase round, we will have 3 more rounds without increasing, where we will work 1 V-stitch into each 3 chain space. Okay, so we will work 1 V-stitch into each 3 chain space, and we will repeat an increase at every 4th round with 10 stitches, and having 1 increase round and 3 rounds without increasing. And for size extra small, this will end up with an increase round as the last round, because we will be working 16 rounds in total. And because I don't want to start every increase round with an increase at the beginning of the row, you can switch and let the increase at the end of the increase section. So if you need to increase again, so you have an increase round, and on the previous increase round you increase at the beginning of the section, you can then try to increase at the end of the section. So now for the second increase row, I started with 4 V-stitches, because at the end of the first increase row I had 50 stitches. So now my section will be all 5 stitches, so 4 V-stitches and 1 increase, and I will repeat this at the end of the to the end of the row. And I will suggest to alternate increasing at the beginning or at the end of the increase section. I hope that this makes sense. And we will keep repeating this increase pattern with 3 rounds without increasing, 1 round with increasing sorry, until we will have 16 rows in total. Or if you're making a different size, please check the information at the beginning of this tutorial, at the beginning of the yoke tutorial, where I wrote all the details and all the information about how many rows you need to work for every size. If you want to work a short row variation, short rows, so to make an anatomical neckline, I started with half of the number of the stitches. So I will start with 61, and then we will start into the first stitch with an increase. So after 61 stitches, we will chain 5 and work 1 half double crochet into the 6th stitch. Then we will skip 2 stitches, work a V-stitch into the next, and repeat this to the end of the row. So the main idea is that we will start with half of the number of the stitches, and we will increase with 1 V-stitch at the beginning and at the end of the row. So now we will finish the row with 1 V-stitch into the last stitch. And this was the first row. So now we will continue to add stitches at the beginning and at the end of the row. And we will also consider the increased row, which will be at row 4. If you have a pattern, so for a size that you need to increase on the first row, then you will start with increase into the first stitch, adding the first increased stitch, and then you will start with the pattern repeat section, the increased pattern section, which will be 3 V-stitches and 1 increase. And continue to repeat that increase section to the end of the round. Now on the round 2, we will increase again at the beginning of the row. On the second row, we will start to increase again into the first stitch, making 1 V-stitch into that half double crochet, or you can go with a half double crochet into the first stitch, chain stitch that you made. Into the written pattern, I alternated 1 row with 1 V-stitch with a chain 2 at the beginning and 1 V-stitch with a chain 4 to make the that V-stitch longer, so we can make the curve and nicely without stretching too much that stitch. Then after making the beginning stitch, you continue to work 1 V-stitch into each 3 chain space. And at the end of the row, we will increase again with that V-stitch into the last stitch, which will be the chain 2. So now at the end of the row, we are working 1 V-stitch into the last 3 chain space. And then into the second chain, we will work another V-stitch. And we will keep adding these V-stitches at the beginning and at the end of the row, alternating 1 row with a short V-stitch at the beginning, 1 row with a long V-stitch, meaning that you are working 2 chain as a first half double crochet, or chain 4. And of course, the stitch at the end of the row will be with a triple crochet. And this is how we are building our neckline, adding this V-stitch at the beginning and at the end of the row. And we will continue to do that for 1 more row. And at row 4, because it is an increase row on the regular yoke pattern, we will need to increase as well to keep that increase pattern. So now I will show you the longer V-stitch that you can make at the beginning of the row. So instead of chaining 5, we will chain 7, and having the first leg of the V-stitch will be as a chain 4. and then we will chain 4, and then chain 3, and then working into the half double crochet or the first stitch, we will work a half double crochet. And this is how we are making the longer V-stitch. Then we will continue with 1 half double crochet into each, with 1 V-stitch into each 3 chain space, and into the last stitch, which will be the second chain, we will work a longer V-stitch. So now we will continue to work 1 V-stitch into each 3 chain space, and we will finish the row with 1 V-stitch into the last 3 chain space, and into the second chain we will make that longer V-stitch. The first stitch will be a half double crochet, then chain 3, and we will finish with a triple crochet. Now we are about to start row 4, and this row 4 will be an increase row. So for the first increase row, we have as a repeated section, we have 3 V-stitches and 1 increase. And we will keep that increase section even if we don't have the same number of stitches as a regular yoke, but we will keep that increase section on the increase row, which is row number 4. If you're working a different size, then you should keep the same increase section into the exact number of rows that you need to work an increase. So now we will start this increase row with the same, with increasing 1 V-stitch at the beginning and 1 at the end. And along the row we will repeat the section 3 V-stitches and 1 increase. So now let's make the first increase at the beginning, this time with chaining 5. So we will have the first leg of the V-stitch as a half double crochet, then another half double crochet either into the last half double crochet on the previous row or into the first chain space. And now after that we will start with the increase section. So we will work 3 V-stitches, and then 1 increase. Working 1 half double crochet, chain 3, another half double crochet, chain 3, and another half double crochet. And we will keep repeating this section to the end of the row. When it's finishing with, you don't have enough stitches for another section repeat, you simply continue and work V-stitches, because the the number of stitches that we have on the short row won't be equal divisible with 4, so with the number of stitches that we have on the increase section. But the main idea is to add a few more stitches on the increase round and trying to keep up with the pattern. So we will be acting as we will have an entire round here. On the written pattern in the PDF version, you will have a stitch chart for this section and also for the regular yoke. So if you want to check the PDF pattern, which is a paid one, I can let you more information into the description box below. And the written pattern, you can also have it on my website, and I will suggest to follow it along with this tutorial. Now we will continue to repeat the section to the end of the row. Okay, so now I don't have enough stitches to complete the increase section. So I will still have one V-stitch to work into the last chain 3 space, and then we will finish the row sorry, with the V-stitch that we need to work to increase at the beginning and at the end of the row. And this is how it's looking so far. Now we will work one more row, and at row 5 we will close the round with the number of chain stitches that we need for the front panel, so to complete and make it a circle. And we will start row 5 as usual, increasing at the beginning and at the end of the row. Then we can count the stitches, and we know that after the first increase pattern we need to have 50 stitches, because this is how the regular yoke is number of stitches is, and we will add the remaining stitches to get to that number. So now we will count, but working the row 5 as usual, and at the row 5 we will have, after row 5 we will have 35 stitches. Okay, so now that we completed the row 5, we are starting to chain the number of stitches required. We need to have 15 V-stitches, so we need a multiple of 3, which is 45, plus 2 more stitches as a separating chain from the last V-stitch to the first one. So we will chain 47, and then we will join, and this is at the end of row 5, so you need to work one more row with increasing at the beginning and at the end of the row with 1 V-stitch, and then at the end of the row you will start chaining 47 stitches. And we will join with the second chain to complete the round. Make sure that it's nothing twisted. Okay, and now to start the round 6, we will turn our work and we will have to skip the first 2 chain stitches and start to work into the third one V-stitch. You can go to the third position, to the third stitch, using slip stitches. And we will start from the third chain stitch with 1 V-stitch, then skip 2 stitches and another V-stitch in next. And we will repeat this for the entire chain that we have on the front. And after completing the chain stitches, we will go into the first 3 chain space and start the round from there. So starting with row 7, we will repeat the same stitch pattern as the one for the regular yoke. So we will continue to work the stitches as they are, with the increases as they are, increasing at every 4th row. So the same pattern as for the regular yoke. And then we will split into stitch sleeves and body. But one thing for the short rows yoke, because this will start, the round will start next to the front panel, and we don't want that, so we will cut the yarn, split the number of stitches divided by 5, and allocate 3 5s for back and front and 2 5s for sleeves, and rejoin the yarn into the first stitch of the back panel. More details you will find in the written pattern. We will start now with the splitting round, and for the regular yoke we will start from where our yarn is. For the anatomical yoke, you need to make sure that the front panel stitches lay right in the center of the front panel, and then you will rejoin the yarn into the first V-stitch of the back panel. So now we are working the back panel stitches, which in size extra small will be 26. So I will work 26 V-stitches. At the beginning of this section of the video, you can find a stitch count for every size, how many stitches you'll have for each section. After finishing the back panel stitches, we will chain 11. Then skip 14 stitches for the sleeve. You can use stitch markers to mark the stitches from the beginning. And then I will go into the 5th stitch and start working the front panel V-stitches, which will be again 26. And after finishing 26 stitches for the front panel, we will chain 11 and join to close the round with a slip stitch into the second chain. So we will skip again 14 stitches, making sure that this is the number that I have left to the end of the row. And then slip stitch into the second chain, and then start a round into the first 3 chain space. We will work 1 V-stitch into each 3 chain space until we will get to the armpit chain. And on the armpit chain, we will skip the first 2 stitches, 2 chain stitches, and we will work into the third one, 1 V-stitch. Then skip 2 stitches and work another V-stitch into the next. Then skip another 2 stitches and another V-stitch into the next stitch, and we should have remained 2 stitches from the armpit chain, and we will skip those 2 stitches and go into the next 3 chain space and continue working the front panel. So now we will continue to work into the 3 chain spaces of the front panel, and the second armpit chain will be worked the same as this one, and then you will join into the second chain and close the round. So this is the second armpit. So again, I will skip the first 2 chain stitches and go into the third one, and proceed the same as for the previous the first armpit stitch, so working those 3 V-stitches on it. So this was the first, then skip 2 stitches and work the second, and at the end we should skip the last 2 stitches and close the round with a slip stitch into the second chain. Okay, so we will slip stitch into the second chain, Starting with the next next row, you will continue to work one V-stitch into each 3 chain space until you reach the desired length. I worked in total 25 rows, and we will meet after completing the length to see how we can finish and how to work the edge. So this was the splitting round and with the first round of the body, and now you will continue to work in the round until you reach to the desired length. Now it's time for edging, and before starting with the edging pattern, we need to make this one more round to make this edge straight, because now it's wavy because of the 3 chains that we have on the V-stitch. And to make this round, we will start from the first 3 chain space, chain 1 and make 1 single crochet, then chain 2 and work another single crochet into the next 3 chain space, and we will repeat to the end of the round. To close the round, we will chain 2 and then slip stitch into the first single crochet. Now we will switch the hook size to a smaller one. I will use a 4mm crochet hook. We will chain 1 and we will start to single crochet into each stitch around. For a clean edge, I prefer to wear the single crochet stitches right through the chain stitches and not under. And we will continue like this to the end of the round. It will be a bit difficult to work through the chains, but I really recommend it for a clean and nice edge. After completing this round in single crochet, we will slip stitch into the first single crochet, and then we will repeat this row 2 more times, or depending on how thick, how wide you want this border, this edging to be. So I will work one more row besides this, so we will have 3 single crochet rounds in total. And now after completing this row, I will like to switch to even a smaller hook size, because we will work a variation of a slip stitch. So I'm chaining 1. So now into the first stitch we will slip stitch, then chain 1 and then slip stitch into the next stitch, and again chain 1 and slip stitch, and we will repeat this to the end of the round. This will create a nice edging that I like, but of course that you can find a different stitch pattern for the edging. After completing this round, you can slip stitch into the first chain stitch that you worked at the beginning of the round and cut the yarn. For the sleeves, we will reconnect yarn at the armpit. We have at the armpit 3 upside down V stitches, and I will reconnect the yarn into the middle, right into the bottom of that V stitch that we worked on the body row. And we will start the round with chain 5. And then 1/2 double crochet into the same stitch. Then we will go into the bottom of the next V stitch of the body and work 1 V stitch. And then when we need to make the transition between the sleeve and the body, we are looking at the space that we have, that side row of the body, and we will work 1 more V stitch there. So we're trying to approximate like we will have 2 chain stitches that we are skipping, then working 1 V stitch into the side row of the body, and then going into the first stitch of the sleeve, and working that V stitch. And this is how we made that transition over the body side row. Now we will continue with 1 V stitch into each 3 chain space of the sleeve, and where on the next corner we will do the same, working 1 more V stitch into the side row, into the body side row. So here we will have to place a V stitch somewhere into this space that we have over here. If you feel that the space is too big, you can either work 2 V stitches, but this will add 1 more V stitch to your sleeve, or working stitches together that will fill that gap. Now I will continue before joining the row. I still have 1 V stitch on the armpit, and we will work a V stitch there and then join into the second stitch. Now starting with this round, if you want to have like a straight sleeve, you can continue and work 1 V stitch into each 3 chain space until you complete the desired length. If you want to have a flared sleeve, then you should work the length up to the elbow. I work in total 16 rows, and then we will start to make some increases. So I will start with an increase into the first stitch, and then I will work one V-stitch into the next 2 stitches. Even if the stitch number is not divisible with 3, you should repeat the section as many times as possible and then finish the round with the remaining V-stitches that you have. After completing this increase round, we will keep going and repeat with one V-stitch into each row, into each 3 chain space until we complete the desired length. After completing the desired length, to finish off the sleeve, we will work the same edging as on the bottom. So we will start with the first row to straighten the edge. So 1 single crochet into the 3 chain space, chain 2, and then repeat 1 single crochet into the 3 chain space, chain 2. Then we will follow the same pattern and we will work 3 rows in a single crochet using a smaller hook size, and for the last row we will work that slip stitch chain 1 to finish off the sleeve edging. And after completing the sleeve, you just need to repeat the same pattern for the other one, weave in all the ends and block it to the measurements. I really hope you enjoyed this tutorial and see you next time. Bye!